Welcome back to Cooking with Peyton. Today, I'm going to show you how to make Philly cheesesteaks on the Blackstone, and then I'm going to show you what we're going to do with the leftover meat to make it a meal prep item for lunch during the week. The first step is going to be slicing up these 3 peppers and then those 2 onions. Now that we got the peppers and onions all cut up and put in their bowl, I've already washed the mushrooms and we're just gonna go ahead and dump them out. And then any that are really big, we're just gonna cut up so that they're a little bit smaller, more of a bite size. And then we're gonna move on to the meat. Now that we got the mushrooms all cut up, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start prepping the meat. Usually I would get my meat at Costco and then it comes in a little bit bigger of a package, but I just couldn't get out to Costco this time. So I went ahead and grabbed this at Walmart, and they didn't have any super big packs. And when I'm making it for dinner and lunches for the week, we need quite a bit of meat. So I went ahead and I bought quite a few packs. Obviously, if you're not trying to make a ton, you wouldn't need a ton, but I'm gonna make more than usual because I'm feeding 4 people. So I'm gonna go ahead and use a little bit more meat, but here we go. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm just taking a couple pieces, I'm just cutting it in half, and then I'm just taking it and I'm just kind of like making it in strips. I'm just gonna do that all the way down. And then we pretty much end up with just a whole bunch of strips, and it's kind of stuck together, but we'll separate it on the grill better. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that to all the meat, and then we're done. All right, now that we've got the Blackstone nice and heated, we're gonna add a little bit of oil, and we're gonna dump our veggies on first, mainly just our peppers and onions. And we're going to give them a little oil, and we're just gonna add a little bit of garlic salt, just to kind of give them a little seasoning on their own. And once we do that, we can kind of mix them up, break the onions up. And then we just kind of stir them in so we can kind of mix that salt in everywhere. And then we're just gonna go ahead and kind of clump them all up. And we're just gonna throw the cover on them to go ahead and let them steam a little bit. So while we got the onions and peppers steaming, we're gonna go ahead and start the mushrooms just because they're gonna take a little bit longer, and we wanna do them on their own so they caramelize. So we're gonna throw down a little bit of oil, dump our mushrooms over here, and then we're gonna try to split them up into like 2 little groups so that we can cover them with the smaller steamer. And then we're just gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper to each pile. And then I have 2 smaller steam covers, and it's not going to fit. That's okay, we'll make it fit. We'll slide this one over. And then boom. We're gonna work it around a little bit to get the rest of the mushrooms in there, but we're just gonna go ahead and let those steam all at the same time to speed up the process. As you can see now, I kind of rearranged things and got them so that they all were flush and covered. I'm just gonna squirt a little bit of water under all three of the covers. That's just gonna make it so that the veggies get a little bit more moist so that they can steam a little bit better. So after we let them steam for a while, we're just gonna go ahead and give them a quick stir, mix them up a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit more garlic salt here, and then I'm gonna cover them again. As you can tell, the mushrooms are really bubbling over here, so we're gonna go ahead and give those a stir as well. Uncover those. We can mix them to stir them, it doesn't really matter. The only reason I split them up is because they don't all fit under one of those covers, and I only have one of these big ones, so just kind of whatever you gotta do to make it work. Now that they've cooked a little bit, they've actually got smaller, so they'll probably fit under one of these now. Yep. So I'm just gonna go ahead and leave them for a couple more minutes, and then we're gonna mix them up again. Now that we've let them cook a little bit longer, we're gonna uncover them. We can go ahead and uncover both of them. You can mix up the mushrooms. At this point, we're gonna go ahead and spread them out so that they can really start to caramelize. Now that they've cooked a little bit, we're gonna go ahead and just let them cook without the steam cover. And then we're gonna do the same for the onions and the peppers. Now we just let them cook. Okay, so everything's been cooking for a little while now. You can see things are starting to brown up a little bit. I spun them once without turning the camera on. I just totally forgot. There's really no exact science to it. You kind of just cook it until it's done to your liking. Same with the mushrooms. I mean, the only reason I'm doing them separate is so that we can really caramelize them. I found out in the past, like if I combine the two, in order to get these caramelized like we want, sometimes I burned these. So now I've learned to just do them separate. Sometimes I do the peppers and onions on a little bit lower of a heat, and then I do the mushrooms on a higher heat because the higher heat really helps with the caramelization aspect of it. You kind of just have to play around with it and figure out what works best for you. If you're gonna wander away from the grill, lower heat might be smart. But right now I'm on high, and then I'm on like 3/4, so it's not a huge difference, but like the peppers and onions are getting close. So we're just gonna actually turn that side down a little bit more. That way we don't start to burn these. The mushrooms are gonna need a little bit longer, but not terribly long. They're getting pretty close. So yeah, I think we'll just let them sit like this for maybe 2 or 3 more minutes, and then we'll see. All right, so now that the mushrooms are done, we're gonna take them out. And then we're also going to take the peppers and onions off so they don't sit here and get burnt. Now that we took the onions and peppers off, along with the mushrooms, I put the mushrooms in a separate bowl simply because some people in my family don't like mushrooms, so we just kind of keep them separate. But now we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna clean the grill, and then we're gonna start with the meat. So as you can see, I just got some help separating the meat. That way it would go ahead and start cooking quick. It is so thin that it cooks really quick. So like when I put it on the grill, it's kind of all stuck together. And as it cooks, it comes apart easier. So I just get a little bit of help with that part because it makes it a little bit easier, not having to worry about all of it. But then we kind of just spread it out. And the meat's not gonna take too very long to cook because it is so thin. So, and we don't want to overcook it, so we're just gonna spread it out, let it cook for a couple minutes, 5-6 minutes maybe, and then we'll go from there. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead, we buttered and put a little garlic salt on these buns. We're gonna throw those down, and then we're going to take a little bit of meat, set it over here. And then we're just going to take some of our toppings. We got some mushrooms, and then some peppers and onions. We're just going to add them right on top. We're going to do this for 2 sandwiches at the same time. So we're just kind of repeating the same process now. Mushrooms, peppers and onions, and then we just set our cheese right on top, melt it, then we're just going to cover it. So we're going to give it a couple, maybe a minute or 2, and it's just going to melt the cheese onto that. Now that the cheese is melted, we're just gonna scoop it up and place it right on top of our bun. We're able to do 2 at a time, which makes it a lot quicker. And just like that, we're done with 2. So, as you can tell, we just made about 8 sandwiches. And then there's a lot of left over. But that's all by design. So what I did was I just mixed the mushrooms and the peppers and onions in with all the extra meat. And then in the rice cooker, I'm gonna go ahead and make some brown rice. And we're just gonna portion this up over some rice. And then you have a pretty just straight like protein-based lunch with some rice and just some beef, but then also just add a few peppers and onions and mushrooms to it, and you got yourself kind of a nice little meal on a bed of rice. And yeah, so I'll show you that process once the rice is done. Okay, so after we put a cup of rice in our containers, we're just gonna add the extra cheesesteak mix. And then we usually put cheese on ours, so I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of cheese on each one.